And then we have CIU at Washington State in the West Coast Conference first round. That's at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ESPN Plus on the 5th. We have TB Sunrise, that's the third round. And then we have TB North Dakota State Assembly quarterfinal, 3:30 Eastern. Stanford Swapper in the SoCon quarter. Southern Indiana got by the SoCon quarter, or OEC quarter, 4 Eastern. Russian Gain in the 10 second. And then in that 5 Eastern, it's TB Jacksonville and then East quarter. And then TB Syracuse and AC Center. And then the 5:30 Eastern, it's San Diego State Mary's and West Coast Guards first round. And then they played and then the West Coast Guards, there's not many teams in the but it's kind of like a true neutral shape one. And TB Sunrise in the SC second. And then it's Chosen Southern Rap for the Big South Quarter at 6 Eastern. And then the American East is Campus 8, so tournament. All the teams play the same. It's New Hampshire, Maine, Albany, Vermont, and it's at 6 Eastern. That's Binghamton, Wright, Dakota City Eastern. TB Michigan State got by the second round at Big Ten second round at 6 Eastern. State got by the second round at 6 Eastern. And JT UBC playing the American East quarter at 6 Eastern. And then I saw got by the second round at 7 Eastern. St. Central got by the Eastern quarters. Virginia Tech got by the ACC second round. And then Tennessee got by the second round at 8:30 Eastern. And then UNC Ashland Longman Big South quarter. Maryland got by the second round of the Big Ten at 8-9 Eastern. Carroll got by the Big 12 second round at 9 Eastern. And then on the 6th, we have Duke with a bye as East quarterfinal. 11 a.m. Eastern. 7th, the SoCon semis. There's 11 a.m. Eastern. Peacock gets the Big East first round. 11 a.m. Eastern. And then the USA Network has the 10 quarters for the women. Before it was before the 10 quarters were never on USA Network was only for like men's basketball really, and then they would show women's basketball occasionally on maybe Peacock very occasionally with part of their deal, or NBC Sports Digital for free. I remember that before they had NBC Sports Digital, like a free tier for stuff before Peacock. And yeah, that's kind of what it was on. Kind of was essentially on like a free tier. Which is like, or like requires authentication tier through like TV, right? But you could watch it then if you had that. And then they were on Peacock. Now since it distribute the rights to they like 10 to USA Network exclusively. It's on USA Network, and I know with the Winter Olympics, Paralympics overlapping, the opening ceremonies. I know the actual second game is on the USA Network app. Instead of actually putting that one on Peacock, instead of actually having that on Peacock, they actually just put that on which I'm kind of surprised, because they have a deal with that, the stuff to be on like Peacock. It's on USA Network as well, certain big events like Premiere, which I'm kind of surprised by, but it is what it is. And then 11 a.m. Eastern, TV wrote on. And then Big Ten, UCLA is at noon Eastern. South Carolina is in the SEC quarter. Before last year, the SEC and AC quarters, they were kind of interchanged. They were mixed on like ESPN. And ESPN2, like it was depending on the game. It's kind of dependent on the game, honestly. Like the team. This year, that ESPN's gonna have both 2 of the morning SC quarters and noon Eastern ESPN. Then the Quinnipiac goes to Metronet quarterfinal, noon on ESPN Plus. Big 12 quarters. They're going to be on the first two morning quarters. And that's before also ESPN has it's also before ESPN has NBA, and then ESPN2 is gonna have men's college basketball. ESPN is gonna have some men's college basketball before they do that. So yeah, and then we're gonna see, and then ESPN2 has a Big 12 quarters. It's TVD Oklahoma State and TVD Marshall in the Silver fourth round. Then St. Thomas Minnesota Roberts in Sully Court. The second SoCon semi at 1:15 Eastern. And the Paul Province is the Big East first round at 1:30 Eastern. And then TV Davidson, it's in that 10 quarter. The second one, that's on USA Network app. And that's going to be due to the Paralympic opening ceremony taking over NBC or USA Network. My bad, USA Network. So the Paralympics are bigger than I would think. I would have not thought that, but the Paralympic opening ceremony is on USA Networks. So I mean, I guess CNBC can't show it, so I guess it's bigger than because the WWE SmackDown definitely is one of the fourth quarterfinal moving to CNBC because they're not moving SmackDown. Like they move SmackDown to Sci-Fi for the Winter Olympics because it's not like NASCAR where they're like, hey, we're gonna be kicked off. Or you're gonna be either moved to like CNBC or like Sci-Fi or like Peacock or whatever, some like lesser form because of the Summer Olympics, and and they know that, and like and they're like, oh, you WWE's like, and we don't care. Move us to like Sci-Fi, move us to CNBC at night. We don't care. It's a temporary thing, and they know that. So like, who cares? We don't care. It's not like NASCAR where they're like, oh, yeah, we need all the viewership we can. Having a 2-week decline, say due to like the Winter Olympics or the Summer Olympics every couple years, it's nothing to them. They don't care. It means absolutely squat to them. Just a temporary decline. Like, I mean, if NASCAR did that, two races, then they'd be like, well, what? Like, you mean you still get your hardcore fans? Yeah, you still might get your hardcore fans, but instead of getting like the casuals that might or more the people that watch NASCAR, like also watching the Olympics as well, you might see like 1 million viewers. Say in that race last year when there wasn't the Olympics, or even the race before the Olympics. Say it was on the same channel. Let's say both were on USA Network. You may get 1 million viewers, and then they move one to let's say CNBC for the Olympics. Or like the Summer Olympics or the Winter Olympics. Okay, whatever the case is. Well, you're gonna get 1 million viewers. Well, not no more. You're gonna get like maybe 500K on like CNBC, if that, You know what I'm saying? If that, so. And then TP Davis, and so you're seeing right now. In second quarterfinal, or actually, in first quarterfinal, it's this third for the ACC for the women. This first two for the women for the SEC will be on ESPN though. Then TV Western Line, the OVC semi, they got by a semis at 2 Eastern and 2:30 Eastern. TV number 6 OSU gets it by to the semi, of course. Number 10 TSU gets by at ESPNU at 2:30 Eastern for the Big 12s. The Metro Athletics Conference Championship for number 25 Fairfield. Since Fairfield only got one loss in the conference championship to conference regular season, the Quinnipiac. And then they also get have a really, and then they also, it's a good non-conference. They're number 25th now, number 25 in the country. Going in at trying to get that conference tournament. And then that's at 2:30 Eastern. 3 Eastern is TBD and Pacific. Pacific gets by the second round in the West Coast Conference tournament. It's at 3 Eastern in Pacific. And Old Dominion gets by the fourth round at 3 Eastern. Denver, South Dakota, and Assembly Network. Mako Sports is the University of Johnson in the Big East first round 4 Eastern. And then one gets a bye to the OBC semis at 4 Eastern on ESPN Plus. And then 5 Eastern ESPN 2. TBD number 6. Number 12 Louisville. And then UC Network has the third quarterfinal. TBD Jordan Mason. That's it. 5 Eastern. There's a low break. There's an hour and a half break. 3:30 Eastern to 5 Eastern. And then UC Network has quarterfinal number 3. Otherwise, if they didn't have that half-hour break, due to the Paralympic opening ceremony, they would have to. What they probably would do is they would show the rest of the Paralympic opening ceremony and that coverage, and then when that's done, it would start on the USA Network app, and then move it over to USA Network app. This way, it might be just straight from the Paralympic opening ceremony. Maybe like a half hour of like filler coverage, maybe. Maybe like a repeat show of something. Like a rerun of something, like Law and Order or something, maybe. But it probably most likely just go straight in that coverage of that. When the Paralympics are done. Then we have we have San Francisco gets by the second round of the West Coast Conference at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. And then Vanderbilt, 6 Eastern. They're again by the SC Network to play in the SC tournament quarters. Then it gets it by Big Ten tournament quarterfinal at 6 Eastern. That's quarterfinal number 3. 2:30 Eastern is Minnesota again by the Big Ten quarters. Their first Big Ten quarter by in like a long while. And then at 6 Eastern, Virginia plays on ESPN Plus. The second set of quarterfinals for the Big 12 on ESPN Plus, 6 Eastern. That's that. And then 7 Eastern, TBE. Michigan North Carolina plays on AC Network, 7 Eastern. Richmond plays on CBC at 7 Eastern. That's your Friday Night SmackDown though. At East, and then having another channel show and on. They can normally. And then 8:30 Eastern is TV number for Texas. 8:30 Eastern is And then 9 Eastern is Michigan in the Big Ten quarter, and number 10 Baylor in the Big 12 quarter. And then we have the Patriot League, and then on the 7th, the Patriot League first round goes on. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about teams already going on. Tournaments already going on right now. We have the ACC like 10 semis at 11 a.m. Eastern and 1:30 Eastern on C Sports Arc. Ace and semis starting at 11 a.m. Eastern for the women. Semifinal one on ESPN Plus. Then Peacock has the Big Ten, Peacock has all the Big East tournament. Peacock does. That's what Peacock has. Peacock has all the Big East tournament for the women. The men, first round for the men are in Peacock, and then they have session. And they have the morning session. They have the morning and the afternoon session for the Big East men. That's on Peacock. And then the night moves to FS1. Then Friday nights, Fox has sports. Doing the Friday night sports thing. So they'll have both semifinals on Fox as well as the championship game. That's at noon Eastern, and then Metrolinx goes out cards. This is on the Saturday. And then this is CNI Iona at noon Eastern on the Metrolinx goes out championship quarterfinal on ESPN Plus. And then we have ESPN 2 is the ACC semifinal, the second one, or the first one. Before it used to be ESPN. Before it used to be where um the semifinals. Before it used to be where the semifinals of the ACC tournament and the SC tournament were both on ESPNU. It used to be, but then they moved the finals. Then they moved the semifinals of the ACC tournament to AC Network, primarily probably to drive up interest in the ACC network. Because I know what they did is they've had some teaser stuff, like they had Monday night, like early Monday, like earlier like ACC softball. They had like ACC like stuff to drive interest towards the ACC. I know SEC network has that like Monday night, like women's basketball, women's or college football. They have like they have like certain things to drive interest. Friday Night Heights, Friday Night Wrestling on the ACC network, so they have a little bit of some interest. They kind of drive specialty stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we have TV James S at 1 Eastern. There's some quarters, so James S gets by quarters at 1 Eastern. There's some league semis at 1 Eastern. And then we have 1:30 Eastern, the second semifinal, like I said before. And then we have semifinal. And then we have the second Eastern semifinal, 1:30 Eastern. ESPN Plus. 2 Eastern is the first Big Ten semifinal, which is 2 Eastern. On Big Ten plot on Big Ten, and then 3:30 Eastern will be second semi, and then the Big Sky first round starts at 2 Eastern. Portland State Weber State at 2 Eastern from Boise, Idaho, and then I got out State, and then the second Metro Athletic quarterfinal. Mount Series at Merrimack at 2:30 Eastern. 2:30 Eastern as well as Crane Marquette in the Big East quarterfinal Peacock. Second AC semifinal 2:30 Eastern. 3 Eastern is the Portland and the West Coast Cards to run by at 3 Eastern in New Pacific. And then we have Arizona State in the Sunbelt quarter at 3:30 Eastern. And the second semifinal at 3:30 Eastern. 4 Eastern will be the OVC final. 4 will be the first Big 12 semi-championship. Phillips 66 Big 12 championship semifinal. And then will be the first SC semifinal. We'll start at 4:30 Eastern. May overlap the ending of the start of the first one. May overlap the starting of the first men's or the first SC women's semifinal. Ending of the second AC semifinal, which is fine. It's not bad though. I mean, honestly, that's like the worst thing that's gonna happen. Maybe that beginning of that tournament, unless you're a true fan of a team. But I mean, either way, I'd most likely, unless I'm a hardcore fan, I'd go to watch ESPN News if I could. Unless I was a huge hardcore fan of a team. And then we had second Big Ten semifinal. Like I said, 4:30 Eastern. And then Montana and Northern Arizona, the first round of the Big Sky tournaments. And then at 5:30 Eastern is TV and Pepperdine. At 5:30 Eastern. And then 6 Eastern is the Big South semis. Then hence what they do for the Big South, in order for the men actually get televised earlier in the day, while the women are playing, and then Big South men, and then Big South men actually play in their size earlier in the day on Saturday. So their championship game is on the championship game is because they play in the quarters Friday, and then they play Saturday, and they play Sunday. And the women actually, where the women and the play that first round, the men the same day. The women and the men play the same day, first round. The men play it later in the day because the women's teams, they come back and play. Like the first round team, they come back and play on that Thursday. So, which is kind of unique. It's just kind of a unique thing that the women get the night session, but the women do play later in the day though. Do play later at night, like 6 Eastern window for the championship on ESPN2. Like the men play at the 1 Eastern or 2 Eastern window after that Eastern semi-final at noon Eastern. And then Phillips 67 Big 12 Championship at 6 Eastern on ESPN Plus. 7 Eastern is the second SEC semi. 7 Eastern is their Big Ten quarterfinal. No, it's divided at quarter. And then Big South is the second one, 8 Eastern. 9 Eastern, Seahawks gets divided at quarter. And these are just tournaments that have already happened. Then we have the SoCon semi at noon Eastern are starting to happen this week. Or already happened. Teams are announced. And that's National Athletics Semifinals at noon Eastern. 12:30 Eastern. Some size. Georgia Southern. 12:30 Eastern. ESPN Plus. And it's the Horizon. And it's the Horizon second round at 1 Eastern. Which is where I guess the 4 or 5 seeds play each other. There are 4 or 5 seeds from the teams that are reseeded, based off it's kind of it's based off like a strategy you have to it's based off the strategy of Horizon Championship round. Like the top 5 teams, the 10 teams all play each other, and then it's based off reseed. Like you're reseeding based off point differential, so that's at 1 Eastern. Same with the ACC tournament final, and then 2 Eastern, the Big Sky second round. I know good. What they do in the Big Sky second round is like the teams who what they do is the first round winners they play in the second round, and then the winners of the second round games get invited to the semifinals. But they play the 1 and 2 seeds. So, and then the 3 through 6 seeds get invited to quarters. And then, so the 1 and 2 seeds. So it's essentially like playing. So it's basically essentially like playing. The top 2 seeds get invited to quarters, but instead they get actually playing the second round, and they get bye. They get another day off, so it's like a rest day built in for them. And one of the quarterfinals for the 3 through 6. So then equal rest, playing 3 games. Equal rest. No, they actually get 3 games in 4 days. So it's unequal rest between the first second round game, which is kind of interesting. And then 2 to 50 Eastern, it's NCS and Paramount Plus. You have that Paramount Plus subscription as CBS tier. And I'll do that. You get the Big Ten tournament just final. And then at 2:30 Eastern, West Coast Guards tournament quarterfinal is Oregon State at 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 a.m. Eastern. Pacific. Or to Oregon State gets by the quarter. Metro goes to the second step out to 2:30 Eastern. And the first Big East, so how about 2:30 Eastern? 3 Eastern is the second step out tonight. Troy gets by that tonight. And that's the Eastern final on ESPN at 3 Eastern. And then 4 Eastern and CBS Sports Network gets the championship final. And then ESPN2 gets the 10 final. And the Big Sky second, Montana State gets a second at 4:3 Eastern on the 8th. And then 5 Eastern, Secretary gets a quarterfinal. And Peacock has a second Big East semifinal. And then Phillips 66 Big 12 final, and then it's 5:30, 6 Eastern is Big South final, and then we have tonight. It is Rugby semis, and then on night we turn 30 have started. It's the Rise League semifinals at noon and 2:30 straight on ESPN Plus. And then it's 2 Eastern, the semis, or Sunbelt Championship. Sunbelt Championship for the women is at 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. I believe it was on I could be wrong. I thought it was on ESPN2 last year. For the Sunbelt Championship for the women. Could be wrong though, but it's at 2 Eastern. And then Big Sky Throwdown's at 2 Eastern. And which is 2 Eastern. 1 a.m. Pacific. And then it's at 4:30 Eastern. 1:30 Pacific. And then we have some West Coast Hearts of Loyola Marymount at 3 Eastern playing. And then Gonzaga at 5:30 Eastern. And then Eastern Championship Final, 5 Eastern on ESPNU. And then the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. The Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, their championship final this year is actually not televised on ESPN. It used to be where the championship game of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. It used to be where that championship for the women was not televised on was not televised in Eastern Plus exclusively. Now this year it is televised, but they're doing it where they're moving it up earlier. And the men before on the where it would be on the 14th for the men and the women. The women would get televised, and so would the men. Both sides would get televised, but the men would have their semifinals televised the night before the 13th on ESPN News, and then the women, and then the men would get their final televised on ESPNU. Same with the women. This year, the women have it on ESPN Plus. The men might have it on ESPN2 or ESPNU or ESPN or some channel. They still get televised on ESPN. So you still get they only get the final televised. And then Peacock, the Big East final at 7 Eastern